Recording. Once you're able to see my screen, you can just write a short message there that you're able to see my screen so that I know I'm not only presenting to myself. Once my screen, you're able to see my screen, you can just tell me so that I get to know that the presentation is on. Okay. Is everybody able to see my screen? Yes, scholar says yes. So that's in order. Okay, so guys, this is what we did yesterday. This on our first day, and I'll just take a few minutes for those been informed that some people were not able to join yesterday due to one or two reasons. So I'll just do a small recap on what we did and maybe explain the few basics that we went through before moving on to today's class. Today's class might be a bit intensive in terms of we want to move on a little bit more faster with speed and maybe do extra things that you're supposed to do today. So yesterday we got to discuss a few things, and if you can realize, I actually this is a concern that I got from some of you that the ribbons that you're having are not similar to what I am having. As I alluded earlier, we must not necessarily have the same ribbons up here. Reason being, you might be using a different version of Excel. So if you're using a different version of Excel, most definitely your ribbons won't be the same. Like for example, today I am using the. Let me just show you. Sorry, I'm having machine that is a little bit slower. Okay, like for today, I'm using Microsoft Office Professional plus 2016. Okay, so this is what I'm using today. So if you look at what I'm using today and maybe what I was using yesterday, you might see a little bit difference because the ribbons here are not the same. Because in the current and the most current Office 365, we have more ribbons like Automate and all that. So if you're using a different version, maybe the ribbons will not look the same. But generally, if you have the home, the insert, the data, the page layout, this won't change. This will be constant for all the versions, the view ribbon and all that. Okay. So that is just to note. Okay. So yesterday we went through all these ribbons. We went through the file ribbon. We looked at the different aspects that the file has, what it can have in all this, the account, the options, and all that. All right. So we went through that. We also went through the individual ribbons now inside our workbook. We went through home, where we said most of the formatting tools are within this ribbon. So we said for your formatting needs, you'll always be using this ribbon, be it a number, be it a text, be it a heading, be it a conditional format, in which we said a conditional format, just from its name, means that you're formatting based on a certain condition. Okay, so when you're formatting based on a certain condition, yeah, you will always be using this home ribbon. And we used an example here. uh, if anybody can remember the second example, we had some certain rules. So if you want to check the rules that you have set for a certain conditional format, you can always click on that cell having that format, go to the conditional formatting button, and then manage rules. When you manage rules, you'll be able to see the rules that you have set. For example, yesterday we said if something is equal to 60, it should have a red format. If it is less than 60, it should be having a red fill with red uh, the font being red. If it is above or greater than 60, it should always be green, and I think this is some green font. Okay, so that when you change here number, for example, you change this 90 to 40, it should just automatically now change to red. Okay, so that is one thing to note, that if you want to check your rules that you have set for the conditional format, once you are done setting the conditional format, you can always go here, down here, and under the conditional format, and then you go to manage rules, and then here you'll get to see the rules. What happens here, you can always edit the rules. For example, if we wanted everything now above 70 to have the rules, we can just go to this, and it will give you an option of editing. When you edit, you can now change your number. Say you can change this number, you want anything with above maybe 30. Let's just do the list number so that you see what happens. Above 30 to have a green text. You press OK. Now the rule has changed. Okay. So when you copy this formatting, and we said you can always copy a formatting using this paintbrush, you can just the formatting all along this. So this doesn't change, one, because it already has another rule. So what happens when we change this to maybe 40? I want just you to take note of that. It cannot change since it has already an embedded rule. And once that rule is satisfied, it cannot go on to the next rule. So what happens if you want to change? You should always change the first rule. Okay. So I hope you understand. Like they follow this, it follows this sequence. So it will check the first rule. If that is not satisfied, then it will go next to the next rule, then to the third rule. So if you are to change anything, you should always start with your first rule. Okay. So what happens when you delete this rule, and when you delete this rule and we press OK, and now come and change our number to 30, it won't have any field because we have said numbers greater than 30. What about 31? It should be having a green field. Okay, so that's just a point to note, that Excel, once you have like four conditional formats for one cell, Excel will always look at the first condition. Is it met? No, it goes down to the next condition. It's just like using an if function, in which will look, you always have the logical test, and then you have your value, and then value if false. So it's just following the same pattern, that it checks, has the condition been met? Yes, so give it this color. Has it not been met? It goes on to the next color. But if can't jump the rules. So that's just a recap of conditional format. It's a very important tool. Well, when you want to show things differently. Okay, so that's just one. I'll also maybe just say something here on what we said, a shortcut for formatting something like a currency. You always use your control one button, so that you can format your cells. Okay, I think I've overloaded it a little bit more, but it's okay. So that being said, we talked about what should be contained in the insert function. The insert function should have it gives you the chance to maybe insert a graph, insert a pivot table, insert a table, and all that kind of things. Okay, so just give it a little bit, a minute. Okay. So using the control one button, you can always get this dialog box. When you get this dialog box, you can go ahead and format any number, or give it any kind of style that you want, based on your requirement. We will see that while using our file today, in which you can incorporate. Okay. So the next thing is this. I'll not go mostly into the insert button, the page layout. You can just go read whatever notes that you had given. on those, but I'll just touch a little bit on the data tab or on the data ribbon. So the data ribbon, we said it has some various parts in which you can get data maybe from externally, and if you look at what we had yesterday from the Office 365 and what we have today from the Microsoft 2016 version, they are a bit different. So in the Office 365, you can get data from very various sources, and which is a bit limited from the 2016 version. So this just shows you that um, the more the newer the version, the better the version. So here you are limited only to from access, maybe from web, from text, from other sources, which might not be as comprehensive as the sources that we were able to see yesterday. Okay, so you can create a new query here. It will show you all the connections to this workbook and to the other. And then here you will always be able to sort your numbers. We'll see how you can sort numbers, where you can use a filter. We say the text to column is used to split names. You can split things that are delimited by a certain parameter. Okay, so we spoke about what flash fill. Flash fill just helps you to automatically fill in values when you give Excel an example of the values that you want to be filled. So, okay, remove duplicates. If you have a number of duplicates, say 5 numbers, and 3 are duplicating, when you remove duplicates, you always have the option of removing duplicates or just remaining with unique values. So, unique values and removing duplicates should give you the. So, data validation is among the things that we is lined up for today's lesson. We'll get to see what is this data validation, how can you work with it, and how important is it. So the consolidate button here or function is just used to collect data from different worksheets. So I have a worksheet day one, I have a worksheet day two, I have a worksheet day three, and I want to consolidate them into one. Maybe their financial reports for different years, and I want to consolidate them into one. You can always use the consolidate button. Okay. So the what if analysis, the focus here, we said we'll also look at them later. You are able to use the group function here, in which we said the group function is used to just give you like a sort of classification. So here we said we had grouped the first day, day one of class. So if you want to expand it, you just go to the second button. Okay, so that is among the things that we had looked at yesterday. I'll not go into much about the review because here we said now it's all about creating comments and the notes, maybe to just a recap. Okay. So up until that point, I don't think there's any question for anybody who missed the class yesterday. I hope you've been able to maybe get a hint of what we are saying. At this point, I would just like to ask if there's any question so that I go now to custom data validation rules.
There's question here in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. Let me just check the chat box. Okay, Ngoa Morris asks, what if the currency you want is not in the Excel built-in currency symbols? There are two options. One is an advanced option and the other one is not so advanced, okay? Because, okay, Ngoa, I'll just do this for you so that you get to understand. All these functions, the way they have been formatted, they follow a certain sequence, okay? So if I want my numbers to have a certain design, okay, a certain look and feel, I can always custom write it, okay? So if it is not there, you can always custom write it. But trust me, the major currencies and the major number formats are already inbuilt in Excel. So this is what you do. So here there are so many currencies when you look at this, okay? Maybe this one's a bit limited because it's the 2016 version. But yesterday we saw a lot of currencies. I think there are over 300. What happens when maybe you have, I don't know, which currency could be missing? Uh, I am not really sure. But what happens when you don't have are uh, the currency that you're looking for. When you look at this syntax, you can see, maybe I didn't want to go to this today, but since Ngoa has asked, when you look at this syntax, you can see how that number is developed. The currency is there, okay? So it's always denoted by a dollar sign, then the currency that you want, then these are just number placeholders, okay? So what if I wanted to write maybe a certain currency? Let's assume I wanted the full name for Kenya shilling, okay? So I'll just type in Kenya shilling, space Kenya shillings, okay? And I'll press okay. So you see, now this is a is a is a is a um is a currency that you have made that is not initially there on an Excel, but now it just follows the same syntax creation format. Okay, so it might be a bit confusing at first if you don't understand how these numbers are made, but generally, you I just advise you just to go check here under the currency and just check the inbuilt values, because in the beginning it might be a little bit confusing, but it might be very important for in the future. Right. So thank you for that question, Ngoa. I do appreciate such a question and any other that might come in. All right. So I hope all guys are okay and you have not been confused. I'll just check if you guys are there. That's okay. So the next thing, I want everybody to go ahead and open their data. So I'll just go ahead and open my smartphone data. Here on top of column O1 should be town. Is everybody having this set of data? Is everybody having the set of data and they're able to see it? Yes. Okay. So I'll just move yesterday's class to the new to the I want to move that worksheet into this new worksheet. So how can I do that? I can always go to my initial worksheet and then I'll move or copy the worksheet to where I want. So I want to copy it in the smartphone, I want to move it to the end, and then I want to create a copy. Then I'll just press OK. It will be copied on the other side and everything, so that I just have hide it, so that I just have all my data in one worksheet. Okay. So here you can see some data. So today,
Pardon.
okay, there was a pardon there. I don't know what you want to be pardoned. Maybe you can just come out more clearly. The person who said pardon, what do you want me to pardon? Hello?
I was opening the Excel sheet.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. All right. Are you able to open it? Right. So I believe she's able to open it. So guys, as you can see here, we have some data. This data is data of phone brands that were bought by some certain students from certain universities in Kenya. We look at it and we'll see from which town that university is based, from which college they are in, what age, what is their weight, what is their height, okay, and what is their name probably, the phone that they were buying. Uh, they were buying some certain phones, okay? Maybe that phone is a 1 GB. It has a 1 GB RAM. The star rating is that. The number of reviews that the phone has had maybe on Play Store is that. And then the number of ratings is that. The discount percentage that they were given off the price is that. And then market retail price and the sales price. Okay. So if you want to expand all the columns, sometimes you find that the columns can be constricted and you have to maybe go inside the cell to look at the formula bar here. You'll just expand this, you just highlight everything. There should be a cross sign, something like I don't know how they call this sign. This sign that has arrows on both ends of the addition sign, that can always highlight like that. That will enable you to expand the columns all at once. But sometimes you just want to maintain as that, just to get a view of your data. So this data contains 1500 entries, and we'll start from where we left yesterday. And today we are going to start by maybe creating a validation tool. Okay, so there's a problem. Is anybody who can see the problem in column K? Okay, there's column K. Is anybody who can see a problem? Column K, HT is height. Is anybody who can see a problem in that column? HT is height. Is there any problem with the column that we are having?
Yes, the values are some are dates.
Yes, thank you. The values are dates, but meanwhile, we always expect the height to be a certain number, maybe 6'1". You're told he's 6'1" 60 foot. You know. So, what do you think we can do, and what do you think has brought such a problem? Okay. Anybody with an idea? So this is what we'll do. Okay, we'll start from column A and look at all this and maybe format them just to reinforce what we learned yesterday. So uh, column C is a sales price. Column D is a market retail price. So this is a currency. This is a currency. The discount should also be in a currency. Okay. So the number of ratings is just a star rating. That is not in currency. So I want everybody to first format the first three columns all the way down. Okay, you highlight everything and format it into a currency on your workbook. Okay, I'll go ahead, format this into currency of my liking. You can format in any currency that you want. I'll just use 0 decimal places. I want the Kenyan shilling. You can use either KSH. I just prefer, yes, it's more conventional among among what among many people. Okay, so you can choose any currency that you want, but I want you to format the first three columns into a currency. Then I want you to go and format the height into a number, just a general number. Because if I give you this file and I don't tell you HT is a height and it looks like 06 January, you will wonder what is this 06 January. All right. Okay. Go to general. Okay, is everybody able to do that? But you'll see there's a challenge because there's some 6 zeros and there's some 4932. So I think there's a problem with the data. I'll get to check. But generally the height should have been represented in numbers. Okay, because even if you assume this is centimeters, nobody is this centimeters. Okay, and format it as that, just leave it as a number. The weight is okay, the age is also okay, right? Is there a hand up? Okay, so I want us to go to custom validation. Okay, validation. So for the first, you can just have a new worksheet written data validation. Okay, so I want you to copy the first lock with 50 so that we just use a small set of data that is very easily manipulatable just to see what will be happening while we're using the full data set which has around 1500 1500 entries. So in this data validation, I just want you to come and copy the data here. You can always use the mouse copy, paste. I want you to copy this and come in and paste it here. So you can always use the mouse copy. You can use the Control C, Control V, whatever. Float your boat is okay. All right. So maybe just to explain a little bit, there are some different types of copying. When I copy and you come here, maybe just to explain to you guys, when you copy, using the mouse, see there's an option of copy, right? So when I go to paste and I want to paste through the mouse, there are these options, right? All these pastes. Okay. So what do they mean? So here we have a paste in which when you use this paste, it's just you just paste everything. All right. You just paste everything as is. Okay. So if there are formulas there, if there are different formats there, different from the receiving worksheet, they will always keep the source formatting. Okay. So when you go next, there's a small box written FX formulas. Okay. So when you use this kind of paste, what happens? You'll only be allowed to copy formulas. Okay. So the other worksheet had some certain formulas, but whatever you just want to copy is not the formatting, is not anything else, it's just the format. I think I can show you practically these different kinds of paste so that you get to understand, okay? Because it's quite important, okay? So I'll just before the validation, maybe I'll have a tab here, just as a by the way, pasting styles. Okay, so pasting styles, I'll just have a few numbers here. Maybe I'll copy some few columns, some few rows and columns here. Just that enough. Copy this. I'll show you even the shortcut that you can mostly use. Okay. So I just want this to be bold. So what do I want to do with this? I want to also have some conditional formatting in this so that anything that has maybe, guys, if you're following through, I've just copied cell A1 to F6. Cell A1 to F6. Okay, that is what I have here under my pasting styles. Now I'm doing a little bit of conditional formatting to it so that we get to see how to paste such a value. Okay, so here I'll say if the value is greater than, we can just give it an 8,000 or maybe 7,000. Value is greater than 7,000. I want it to give me a green. Okay, I'll have another one, another conditional format that the value is less than 7,000. Let me just go to my manage styles. I see why the first conditional format did not work. Okay, let me just clear the rules first. Okay, I was just ensuring that they're numbers, that when I give them the conditional formats there correctly. So I'm just putting in conditional format something greater than, I'll just say 7,000. 7,000 to have okay. So anything less than 7,000, 7,000 to have a red. All right. So here I also want to do a discount percentage as a percentage of the price. So just want to I can have just have a formula with a column with a formula, so that I show you how also to paste formulas. So maybe this one I just want an average of the sales price and the market price. Yeah, average. Don't worry if you don't know how to enter this formula. I will just do it. But for right now, just for explanation of the pasting styles, I'll just show you how to do it. Is there anybody with their mic on? A question? Okay, so here we have a certain we have a number of cells that we have here. I'll also put a border. So what happens when I want to copy this in the exact same formats? Okay, this is what I meant. Now when you copy this and I go and paste it here, and I paste using this option, I'll get a similar thing to whatever I had here. Are we together, guys? So this is paste one. Okay, so when I'll just repeat it for anybody who had not seen. Just undo this. When I want to copy this, just everything as it is. Okay, so I copy this, I come here, I want to copy everything as it is. I always use this option, paste. Okay, I'm pasting it as it was. So this option will always suffice. That now happens. Okay, what happens when I only want to copy it as values? I am not happy with these formulas, but I just want to copy them as values. It should not have any conditional format or anything. So I'll just go highlight this, copy, then come here. Now select. Okay, select here. Now as values. You see what happens now? When I copy like that, all my conditional formats have been removed. My border has been removed and nothing has remained. So when you copy it as value, even if you see here, we had a formula that was being copied from here. But when you copied it as a value, no formula was carried forth. Okay. Hope you're following, guys. So this will you copy values. This one is a straight paste. So the next one, I'll show you how to copy as formulas. And what happens when you copy as formulas?
Hello.
Yes.
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me.
Yes, you have been excused very many times.
Excuse.
Yes.
Yes, umeniwacha. Kindly, I'm requesting if you can rewind because ni tu venye umeniacha nyuma.
Okay. So pardon, I had not seen this. Okay, kindly mute your mic if you're done with your question. So I can see here Sydney asked a question. Sorry, I missed that. Sydney, Apple formatting currency. I'll repeat that, Sydney. Question problem. Mwalimu, you're too fast. Okay. So guys, I don't know where I left anybody, but I'll just maybe repeat. Okay, I'll just remove everything there. Removed everything that I've done there. In formatting, I believe you're okay, right? In formatting numbers, copying, just copying a straight copy from
Just start afresh.
yes,
Just start from before customizing that data.
yeah. Oh, you want me to
Yes.
start? Okay, kindly let's be keen so that we get
Yeah.
to see what is happening. So as said, we copy the data cell A1 to cell F F6. Okay, this is cell F6. So I just want to copy data from A1 to maybe F6. Let me just go to a better number, maybe 10, but it's easier. From A1 to F10. So when you copy, you can use your mouse, right click, copy. It will always, and for you to know that something is on the clipboard on Excel, it should always be having this something that looks like the old Smithsonian maze. All right. So when you see this something that looks like a maze that is moving around, you know that your data is ready to be copied on another place. It's already on Excel's clipboard. So when you come and paste it, okay, look at what happens. I right click if you're using the mouse and then use this paste function. So this paste function usually carries all the formatting styles that were there initially in the original source. It's like a keep source formatting. Okay, so everything that was there will be transferred without any changes to the new place that you're copying your data. All right. So uh, when that happens, everything now, you see how we had formatted our numbers as Kenya shillings is how it has been pasted here. Okay, so everything comes with the format. So I went ahead and said, I just to make it clearer, I put a border here. I put a border there, okay, and I conditional formatted this so that just to see anything that is below 7,000, above 7,000 and below 7,000. So greater than, I'll say 7,000 should have a green. Anything less than it should have a red, so that we just see what happens when I copy this now to. We have already done the paste style and we have seen it. The first option, it usually carries all the values. What if I copy as values? If I want to copy this as values, I just come and do the same thing. I copy this. Sorry, we had added another column of formulas just to have a feel of copying as formulas. So I'll just remove this border, add a column here of average. If you don't know how to go about this formula, don't worry, we are going to tackle formulas in a few days. So average, just want an average of these two numbers. Okay, I'll just pull my formula down. Okay, I'll go ahead and put a border. So guys, I want to copy this data that now we have formatted as values so that it doesn't carry with it any formatting, it doesn't carry with it any formula. When I highlight this data, okay, there's a hand up. Mary, just go ahead. When I copy this data, sorry, I used,
Sorry about that.
okay. So when I copy this data as values, look at what happens. I copy it as values and now it doesn't have any of those formatting. Remember, I've just copied whatever was up here down here. it loses its formatting, it loses its formulas. Okay, so that is copying as values. Remove any formatting, you remove any formulas that was initially in your data, right? I'll just remove this error here. So what happens now? I was now going to the third step. Okay, I hope everybody is clear on that. I'll just copy now as I'll go to copy as formulas. So what happens when I take the same data that I had here initially, copy it, and then go copy it as formulas? Look at what happens. Right click your mouse. Now copy as formulas. Okay. What happens now? The data loses its formatting styles. Okay, but maintains its formulas. Okay, it loses its formatting styles, which from the first um, copying style paste maintained everything. Here it loses when you copy it as formulas, it loses its formatting styles but maintains all the formulas. Okay, hope you have seen that here we maintained nothing. You maintain neither the formulas, neither the formatting. But as formula, you maintain the format but lose the you maintain the style but lose the formula. Okay, sorry, you maintain the formula but lose the formatting style. Okay, hope that is in order, guys. So I'll show you the last one because they are quite a number, but I find these three as the most important: values, formulas, and formats. The last one now is just copying the formats alone. Okay, I'll show you. If I copy this, sorry, if I copy this and I just want the formats alone, okay, come here. Let me just try to copy formats only. I'll just go highlight again, copy. Now, when I go to copying, I just want to copy what? I just want to copy formatting. Okay. When I copy formatting, it leaves everything else. It leaves the numbers, it leaves the formulas, but just maintains the formats. Okay. So if I come here and write 9,000, it should turn green because only the formats have been copied. All right. So if I write 7,000, it should maybe at 7,000 exactly because we said less than and greater than. We didn't give any rule for equal to 7,000. That's why it doesn't have a color. If I have 6,900, it should remain as. You see, it even takes, I have not formatted it, but it takes the Kenya shilling formatting style. So if I write 40, it will have that. So that is just, it was just a note since I saw us copying data that there are different styles of formatting that you can always use. Okay. Hope you go and try. Just go try, paste some data, format it, use the different use the different pasting styles and get to see. There are quite a number. Maybe you want to transpose data. Maybe the last one, just the last one. Maybe, but since you might need to use this, I've just copied a few cells here just to show you how you can transpose using the paste function. So you just right click, you just go to your paste special. There's always a transpose. So our data was like this initially, was the brand and the sales price, but now we want to transpose so that it's brand, sales price, then each brand and each price below it. So that is what happens down here. Okay, so this is a transpose. So in all these styles, if you find a challenge in any formatting, in any pasting style, you can just always ask, because most of them we have used, and we can be able to explain how they work. Okay.
Excuse.
Yes.
Hebu rudia hapo kwa transpose kiasi.
Okay. So if you can be able to highlight column C and column D, okay, just for example, I've highlighted the data that we copied. You copy it, then you go to a different place that you want to transpose the data or place the data. You can always go down here. I want it to be transposed, okay? You see how my data initially looks like? It is brand, then sales price, but I want it to be the column, the the columns to be having these brands and the prices, and this one's to be on the row. So I'll just transpose this, and one you can transpose in either way, column to row, row to column. Okay, so here I'll just go right click my mouse, then paste special, and use this transpose button. Okay, so as you can see, initially it was the brand, Solo, Gione, Carbon, and Micromax, but now I have brand and sales price. Okay. There are question on the pasting styles before we move on. That was just maybe it was something that was we said yesterday, but remember there was too much to say. I might have missed that. Okay. So sorry. Okay, let me save this. We keep on going. Let me just save it. Remember, you can always save your files as you go, since most of the, if you're not using the latest the latest Microsoft version that has the autosave on, you might lose your data. Okay, so I'll just save it so that it's moving swiftly. Okay, so that being said, we'll go straight to the data validation. I hope everybody is okay with this. Okay, no question, there's no hand up, I'll proceed. So for example, I want you again to copy this data, and I want you to copy to the data validation with everything. So you just use the first option, paste everything. Okay. Just remove error. This error is because of an inconsistent formula. Okay. So you can always ignore it. That green flag on the left corner of the cell, top left corner, it's if you have an inconsistent formula, but we'll check that when you're dealing with formulas. So as we had said, we are going to create some validation rules. So validation is something that limits what data can be entered into a cell. Okay, for example, I wanted to create a form in which certain students can enter the types of font that they want. Okay, so maybe I created a form with name, font, and then font that they want. Okay, but since we all know everybody can enter their name, okay, maybe I enter my name, Kennedy, but you want to limit them on the type of font that is here. Okay, maybe you only have these fonts to give out, and you want to limit them to choose only one that is here. Now that will need a validation. Okay, so this will limit your user to only select what is in the validation. So what happens to this? You go here, all right? Okay. You go to your data ribbon, you go data validation, then you click the data validation tab, then the options. I'll discuss this option before creating the validation. So in this dialog box, as you can see, data validation, there's something known as settings. Settings now allows you from this list, you can allow people to just put any value. By default, that is what is usually in Excel. So somebody can put any value in the cell. So here I can put 1, I can put K, I can put the type of phone that is, maybe I don't know, something, just some gibberish there. But that again, this is not allowed. Maybe you don't want such a situation to happen. You want these people to only select phones that are here. So what you do, clear this. You go back here to the data validation. You check. In the settings, I want to use an already pre-existing list. Okay, there's the option of a pre-existing list. When you use this list, it will always ask you, okay, you want to use a list. Then where is the source of your list? So when it tells you source of your list, the cursor will always be blinking here. So when the cursor is blinking, you can always go highlight the, the, um, the list that you want the people to choose, or to the list that of names that you want to be chosen. So when I press OK, you'll realize that there's something like a pointer, a triangle facing downwards, that comes up here. Now what happens? Now I have the list of all the phones that I want to be chosen. Okay, so somebody can choose maybe a Gione, maybe a Carbon, maybe they can choose a Micromax, a Lenovo phone. Okay, but what happens when I try to enter a name like Samsung? It will tell me the value does not match the data validation restriction defined for this cell, since Samsung is not among these. What if I enter a phone like Solo? It will pick, because this Solo exists on this list. I want everybody first to understand that point, that a validation helps you to restrict whatever can be entered into a certain cell. Okay. So if we have all understood that, then I'll go now to check under the data validation. We have only looked at the setting. Now we have said it only allows lists, puts them in a drop down, because maybe sometimes if you don't select this option, you won't have a drop down here. Okay, and nobody will know what to choose. So they put P. It tells them it doesn't match, but it doesn't tell them what exactly it wants. Okay, so it is always adamant to go to the validation and put your list in a drop down. Okay, so you can say ignore blank, so you can leave it blank. Okay, mic is on, kindly mute it. The mic is on. Joel, I'll just answer your question. Let me just finish this so that I don't lose this train of thought. So we choose a drop down there. So in this cell, you want to tell people what are you looking for. You can tell them phones available under the input message. Phones available. Sorry, I just clicked something. Phone available. Then kindly any go. But what do you want to tell them when it's an error? When it's an error, you can say phone not available. Choose from existing. Okay, so let's see what happens to this. Now when you hover over that cell, this cell will always alert you what you are supposed to do. So it will tell you this is a phones available, kindly pick any of your choice. You can go ahead and pick. Okay, but when you move out the the cell notification moves away. Okay, so what happens when somebody enters a phone that is not there, for example our favorite Samsung, it will it will give you an error, phone not available, choose from pre-existing list. Okay, so that is a list on validation. Okay, so I'll just pause first so that I get the first question from Joel before I move on. Joel, your hand was up. Is there any question that you're still having?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to understand
Huh?
if you remove the drop down,
Okay.
because I want to hide whatever is there, but I still want to the validation to still exist in
The
the
cell.
Excel sheet.
Huh?
So what happens if you remove the drop down? Will the validation still remain?
Yes, the validation now is
I
limited
really
by the
want to
list.
hide there.
Yes. Okay, Joel,
Proceed, yeah.
if I may answer you, when you click here to remove the cells drop down, okay? Let's say for example I've done that, all right? You see now there is no drop down on this cell, okay? Let me put a phone that does not exist from my pre-existing list. So for example, we now put Nokia. Okay, what happens? It will still tell me, it will still give me an error because I've limited that cell to only things that uh, are here. Okay, so I've removed the drop down, but
Oh, perfect.
I cannot put any other thing other than what is already allowed. Okay, that's a good question, Joel. Any other question before we maybe do another validation? Maybe another style. Any other question? Guys, I need questions from you so that we don't leave any person behind. You can see the chat does not have any other question. Is there a hand up? If there's a hand up, kindly go ahead. All right. So guys, that is validation using a list. Okay. Remember what you said yesterday, if a cell is overlapping like this, I can just center across my selection. Control 1. I want the alignment to be centered across that selection without really merging the cell. Okay. So I'll just fill this. We are using all these tools as we go so that we get to know. I'll just fill this certain color. You can always fill it colors that you like. I'll fill that and use a brighter color on top. Okay, so validation using a list. Check out another style of validation. Maybe you want to limit people to only, okay, phone, maybe phone amount. Maybe after somebody has chosen the phone, you want them to have a number here. All right, they can only enter a number. Okay, so maybe what's your name, Kennedy? What phone? Which amount of phone are you looking for? But you're not limiting them first to any number, but they should not enter a letter. They should not enter, I don't know, a symbol. They should just enter a number because some might come and write dollar this, because this. What? How do you do that in a validation? Just go back to the data ribbon, you go to data validation, you go to your data, you click the data validation. Now you choose another criteria. Okay, so maybe you want a whole number. So anything that is a decimal you don't want. Okay, maybe you want to put in some ranges. Maybe the minimum for that range you want people to put phones between 5,000 and a maximum of 10,000. Press OK. You can just go ahead. Also in that data validation, get an input message says price of phone. Select input price between 5,000 and 10,000. Okay. Then error amount not meet criteria. Check. Okay, so what happens? That. So this cell will always be telling you price of phone. You should input a price of between 5,000 to 10,000. So what happens when I come and put 6,000? This cell should allow me to put 6,000. So what happens when I put 4,000? Should give me an error. Amount does not meet criteria. Check rule. Okay. Because remember, we have specified that we want the amount of phone that somebody is inputting here to be only between 5,000 and 10,000. So if it's 4,000 or maybe even 10,001, what happens? It tells me that I should check the rules. So that this is now validation using a whole number with limits. So what happens when I put 6,000 and 0.01? Who can tell me why it's between the range, but it's not allowing me in my validation? Anybody? I need anybody to maybe tell me. I put the validation should be between 5,000 and 10,000, but this does not allow me to go ahead.
It should be a whole number, not a decimal.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for following through. Yes. So because on the validation you had chosen, we want a whole number. It should always remain as a whole number. All right. That is well correct. Rahma, you wanted to say something else or answer the question?
I wanted to answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, uh, we can look at one more type of validation before moving on. Okay. So we have looked at any value is the one by default. Okay, so this again. Expand. So a whole number again works like that. A decimal will work in the opposite manner, in which you must always put a decimal. Okay. So also you can always put a pre-selected list of dates. That is, if you want people to necessarily maybe you're putting in a list of the phone picking date and you want to put in a date. Okay. Maybe you want to limit the text length, okay, of something. So the for example, uh you want a person to input a phone name that has a minimum of maybe three characters and 10 characters. Okay, maybe let me use six, between 3 and 6. Okay, so sorry, I used the validation in the wrong place, but you can always copy the validation using the copy painter. It will always work there. The format painter, if you copy a validation using the format painter, it will just work the same, right? here, I'll just go to my data, check my rules. I'll remove this message because it's not for this cell. I'll say length between 2 to 6. I'll just not put an error alert. I'll remove does not meet criteria. This error alert still works fine. Okay, I think this is the wrong one. I'll just put text in here. I want a minimum of three characters in length and 6 as a mark. Okay. So I can put in a phone like Solo, or maybe let me just put Nokia. It accepts, right? Because the text is now between 3 to 6 characters. Okay, so when I put a phone like Sam, Sang, what happens? It will always give me an error because that phone, the characters in that phone is more than the 6 that I had. Okay, here phone name. Right. Okay, so that is all about validation. A person will ask, why is validation very important? Validation is quite important because once you're doing your modeling, once you're doing your your model, you'll want people to select a few things. So if it happens that they do select something that you had not thought about or not intended to, it will end up not working. So you must always be able to guide the user on what you want to be put, what you want them to input, and how you want it to be input. All right. So validation helps you to make your model work flawlessly. Okay. So you will go through the daytime validation and see what is all about validation. Okay. So without any, is there any question before I move maybe to absolute and relative references? Any question? Guys, don't be afraid if you're not getting any point, if you've been confused somewhere on how to create a validation based on a certain criteria, or you want us to maybe look at a certain criteria that you're not very familiar with, just put it in my chat box or raise it up. Just unmute your mic and go ahead. Okay. So the next thing that I want us to look at now is something that we call, I'll just create a new sheet. I'll just bring it here. I'll go to referencing. So guys, who has ever heard of anything about referencing? I want to hear somebody chat in my chat box. What have you ever heard about anything referencing anywhere? Reference in Excel. I want to hear a voice or a chat. Have you ever heard anything referencing? Guys, I hope you're keen. Meridama, go ahead.
Mine is basic.
Okay.
I've heard about referencing, and I know relative and absolute.
Okay.
And absolute uses, I can be subject to correction.
Yeah,
Relative
no, go ahead.
referencing
Go ahead.
uses, absolute uses $sign,
Okay.
and you'll tell us why.
Oh, yeah.
And relative,
Yeah.
it's just like that.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I know.
That's very correct. Thank you for that good trial, Mary. That's very good. Anybody else? Anybody else who has an idea on? Remember yesterday I mentioned a certain type of referencing or a reference that. Is there anybody who can remember? Yesterday I mentioned something on referencing that I'll show you how different it is from what we are in today. Anybody who can remember what we said yesterday?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
I have an idea about our self-referencing.
Okay.
So she said that absolute you use a dollar sign,
Uh-huh.
and the other one, the relative, it doesn't. So the absolute referencing,
Okay.
this means that it doesn't change when you copy those formula to another places in the worksheet, but the relative they'll keep changing.
Okay. That is very also. Thank you for that. I couldn't get your name since I cannot see my screen. But that's a very good attempt. Same to Mary's attempt. All those attempts are very good and they're on the right directions. Okay. So that we get to understand this well, I'll still ask you guys to copy the same set of data that we were using for our validation now to the referencing sheet. So has everybody done that? So we'll start with fixed, or what we call the absolute reference. So, okay, in the notes we had said that by default, all the references in Excel are relative. What do we mean by a relative reference? A relative reference is the one that changes in any direction. Okay, this is okay. I will start with a relative reference because that is what is by default in Excel. So we have a cell here. Okay, maybe I'll just write here. I'll just copy this. Copy these three, but now I want to copy them as values. I want to see at this sale price, after I add 100 shillings to it, what happens? Okay, so I maybe say increase price by 100.